Flax Tube, it's Diane, take two. Today is February 25th, 2024. I know it's been a while, but I was going to do this, or is it 26th? No, today's the 25th. I was going to do this a couple weeks ago, and then we got sick. So thankfully it was respiratory and not, or I should say it was sinus, so head cold. It wasn't respiratory, so not a lot of coughing and stuff. But, you know, large family takes forever to get through, and my husband and I got whammied with this one. We've also been tackling updating our bathrooms. We're not changing the floor plan by any way, but we had some water damage because they didn't seal around the shower correctly and water got in there. And so we're at the point upstairs. The shower is not usable, but everything else is, and it's primed. So hopefully by the end of the week we'll have the shower up and running so we can have 2 showers again instead of just one, because scheduling 12 people in one shower, it gets a little tricky. But progress. And it's all the piddly stuff that just takes forever. So I've already done this once and I didn't like how it came out because I didn't think you saw enough of the stitching. So we're doing this again. So hopefully I will remember everything. So let's start with January. Where did I put that? Okay, so January, my Whipco numbers were a sampler and, oh yeah, work on a sampler. So both numbers were working on a sampler. And this piece had been calling to me, so I went with it. And for me, it's 5 days on whatever's called, and a day is 2 hours, give or take. So this is on 40 count natural, and it is with the needle 2 Lila Studio. Lila Studio was the Garan Designer Focus for January 2024. I had this done, and I had all 4 of these done, and some of the alphabet. So here is where I'm at now. So page 1, 7, 2, 8 are completely done, with the exception of this cartouche. I think that's the correct word. Whatever. The verse there, it's over 1. 1 over 1 on 40 count is not fun. Some people love it. If you do, go for it. But I was thinking about it. I think I want to personalize that somehow. So I'm not sure if I'll do a Bible verse or our family's initials or something like that. I mean, I personalized this block over here. So 14 flowers for my 14 children. Our last name, the year my husband and I were married. Changed these to dogs because we have 2 dogs. So I just haven't figured out what to put there. So that's going to be last. So when I pull this out again, I'm just going to continue going on here and then, you know, the other side of it, if you will, and eventually get to here. And then come back, and by then I should figure out what's in the center. I'm using all the called for, which is a mixture of overdyed cottons, mostly Classic Colorworks, and some DMCs. I talked about how I personalized that last video, what I used. One of the colors on the original printing of the pattern says it's a Classic Color maple syrup. That's actually a Gentle Arts thread. But other than that, the colors are just amazing, and it's looking really nice. So then I just got a little burned out on it. And I had my days in for Whipco. And for February, it called for sampler and for boldest whip. So I finished January by pulling this piece out. This is a Teresa Kogut piece. It was an exclusive at the 2023 Stitching in the Wild retreat. Teresa has said she is going to make it available in 2024 sometime. So keep your eye out. It's called Sunshine and Blooms. Called for colors, 1 strand over 2 threads on 40 count Grandma's Slip by XJude Designs. A wonderful fabric to stitch on. It's the first time I've ever stitched on her fabrics. Wonderful fabrics to stitch on. And yes, I have enough. I could do something else here. I might do the Ink Circles exclusive, but go this direction with it. Also from the same retreat. But yeah, I finished this in January. And so my sampler was covered. Worked in 2 different samplers, more than 10 days. Let me throw this up here. My hangers that I often hang my pieces on in my closet area, they're dropping on my stitched pieces, so I need to get some new hangers. I think I showed this last time. Finished this in January. This is the day. Plum Street samplers. Not necessarily the called for colors. If I had it, I used it. If I didn't, I subbed. Either the DMC alternative or from my stash of overdyeds. There is 1/1 on the legs and the beak head area, but everything else is 1/2 threads. You could do the legs and the beak with long stitches if you didn't want to do the 1/1, but it's like 30 stitches, maybe 40 at the max. It's not that hard. But if you're on Ada, yeah, you might need to reconsider just that one little bit of the pattern. Okay, it's just fuzz. Like, oh no, there's something on my fabric. Also in January, for 2024, stitching for my children. Again, use these on your roller frames when you're storing them instead of rubber bands, because they're just hair bands that you get in any grocery store, Walgreens, whatever. They hold up much better in the long run. I am doing the Polar Plunge series from Hands On Design for my kids, and I have to stitch each one. There's 6 in a series, and I need to stitch each one 3 times, and these are the ones I have finished. So the polar bear over here, I finished him in January. I have a wall to my left, so I can't move him closer, sorry. And then in February, I did the whale. Well, hello there. And N is for narwhal. This one was so quick and easy. Well, they're all cute. And Kathy has a very keen sense of humor. So I will get one more over here, and then I'll do the next ones. I think I can do 12 total on this piece of fabric if I space it correctly. I'm not necessarily using the called for. I am using overdyeds. If I had them, I'm using them. If I didn't have them, I either subbed out the DMC alternative or pulled from my overdyeds. In this first set, I will use all the same colors across the designs. In my second set, I probably won't have enough. So I will just play it by ear. And then you can, with these bands, you can stretch them and they hold it together really well. Because when I hit my stitching goals on a piece, this is like a palette cleanser. It's a nice break, and I need to make 18 of those because I have 3 sets of boards. It'd be silly not to make all 18. I could give the other ones away as a gift. But yeah, it'd be silly not to make all of them and use those boards from they're the called for boards. Is it Chantel 10141? Y'all know what I'm talking about if you have the patterns. I will say the first 5 patterns, the polar bear, the penguin, the walrus, the puffins, and the polar bear, penguins, whale, walrus, puffins. Those 5 you can get the hard copies at L&S's. You can order them from Hands On Design website. The N is for Narwhal. That is only available PDF from Hands On Design website. 100% of that pattern goes to Special Olympics that both Kathy Haberman and her husband, Mr. HOD Bell, they're both involved in Special Olympics, and 100% of that pattern in the series goes to Special Olympics, and that's the only place you can get it. And again, it's PDF. It comes quickly, and it's stitched up really cute and quick. So I finished both my whip goes for January. For February, my whip go was Sampler, and the other number was my oldest whip. For Garand Stitchery, their February designer focus is Heartstring Samplery. I had this one kitted, and so I did this one. Sting is the name. And this was a collaboration with Plum Street Samplery. So Float Like a Butterfly. This is Plum Street's Sting Like a Bee from Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali. Famous quote by him. I plan on making both of these into pillows. They both use the same DMC colors. So I used 1 strand over 2 threads with the exception of the back stitching, long stitches. Did this have any 1/1? No, neither piece had 1/1 stitching. So it's 1/2, except for the back stitching. And I used long stitches. Where's a good example of the long stitches? Like here in the wings. Some of those, instead of every little bit, I did long stitches to give the overall feel. Same with the antennae. But they're both the same set of DMC colors. My only complaint, if you will, both patterns do not use the same symbol for the same color. Some of the symbols are the same. For example, this dark color that's on both pieces, did it 3371 or 3799? They both use the same symbol. But some of these others don't. And I wish that they would have collaborated on their symbols, so when you had one, you could go right to the next one and you already know the symbols. I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, but aside from that, they stitch up really nicely, quickly. I love both ladies' patterns. They're so nice to read, and they're really a nice, pleasant design to stitch. And I incorporate my initials in the year and my initials and the year. So I plan on making these into cushions or pillows. So that's my only complaint about those designs. My oldest whip. My oldest whip was Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. It was for my middle daughter. And then this happened. Years ago, Mirabilia put out a pattern called July Amethyst Fairy. And there was some kind of confusion between Nora and Witchelt that prints her patterns. And it was named July because I have a birthday in July. The birthstone is Ruby. And February is Amethyst. So somewhere along the line there was miscommunication. I don't know if I have that pattern in my collection. I think I do. But Mirabilia for February 2024 released this one. The February Amethyst Fairy. I will be stitching this for my middle daughter because her birthday, or her birthstone, is amethyst. Now, I don't like the green dress. Now, green is my favorite color, but I don't like the green dress. So I am going to be changing this to light blues. And she likes blues better than greens, so it'll reflect her personality more too. I mean, look at her face. It's beautiful. I don't own this pattern yet. I do plan on getting it. Again, it just came out this 15th of February. But that one is not. So Sleeping Princess is no longer my oldest whip. My oldest whip is this one. Mirabilia Feather Fairy. I started her in 2015. And she is not a huge Mirabilia, because some of these can be really large. I know, I've stitched many of them, or have them in progress. But I need to just get her done. And it looks really gold here, but it's more the greenish golds here. She has no silks in her. She does have some Krennics, and I'm going to use the Krennics because I have them. This is 32 count. It's either a Jobelan or Lugana. I'm pretty sure it's a Jobelan. Yeah, it has to be a Jobelan because I had this big piece of fabric. I stitched Queen Anne's Lace by Nora Corbett on another part of this, and it's framed upstairs on my wall. And then when I stitched my conversion of that to Lacy Frost, I made sure it was Jobelan. So yeah, this is Jobelan. This is Fabrics by LJ. He is no longer dyeing fabrics. And yes, I'm near the end of my fabric, but her feet, I've counted. Her feet go down about here when it's said and done. And I've got enough going up because I thought, oh no, I didn't make enough room. I did. If she was one of the bigger mirrors, she wouldn't fit on this piece of fabric. So she is my oldest whip now. I will say, if you have this pattern, double check your pattern. Because for whatever reason, on some of the printings of the pattern, including mine, I'm going to show you part of the pattern to make my point. This feather cuts off. But the reality is it goes up. And if you look at the picture here, so that feather, it just cuts off. You don't get that, just like cuts off right along here. You don't get this. So if you go to the Mirabilia.com website, they have a corrections or errata, I'm not sure how they word it. Go there and you can download that little piece of your pattern, and they give some kind of indicator where it needs to go. So on my working copy here, I wrote Tart Correction because I printed that off. So then I will be able to put that in there and make sure I get it stitched correctly. So if you have this pattern, do be aware of that, and you can download it from the Mirabilia.com website for free. And it's just that little schmidge. So she is now my oldest whip. And for February, I need to stitch on my oldest whip, so 5 days, I've got enough. And for March, both numbers were called today for Whip Go. They are both a Fancy Lady. There you go. So, how do I want to do this? From Garun Stitchery. This gets into haul here. Okay, well, I had a chance to go to Stitchville in January, and I picked up Castle by Cottage Garden Samplings. I love this series. I need to get the other houses. I just picked up one. I also picked up this pattern, this Happy Morning. Plum Street. Done with Big Barn. And my daughter for Christmas gave me this 40 count Cyprium by Picture This Plus, so I think this will look really good on there. I haven't kitted this up yet. And I haven't framed this one because on the same fabric I am going to stitch this one. This I know. And this is all kitted. That being said, I also picked up Blackbird by Mirabilia. This one I debated on the pattern. I mean, I thought I love the roses. The roses are gorgeous. And I was like, well, but yeah, what fabric do you stitch it on? I just don't know. And then Gary and Ronnie of Garand Stitchery showed this fabric. And I instantly saw that pattern on this fabric. This fabric is called Eerie Night. It is printed on one side, so here's the back. Because Blackbird is so large, I had to get a fat half rather than a fat quarter. And I will end up cutting like this part of the fabric. I'm gonna wait till she's stitched before I cut. And I've plotted her out on this fabric. So her outer edge of her skirt will go here. And her head will be under this branch. And then she'll be kind of running through these leaves, but these lamps will be seen. And so that is the piece, the fabric I'm going to stitch her on. This is 32 count. This is a Garand Stitchery exclusive. You can only get it through them. They have fat quarters, which are roughly 17 or 18 by 26, 27. This is a fat half, which is roughly 27 by 36. So I got to figure out how to get this on my roller frame, my 28-inch bars, because he doesn't make bigger bars. I don't think he could get the tension if he made bigger bars. But I don't want to cut it off until I know that I have the placement right. So I have to fiddle with it a little bit. But this is where Blackbird will be eventually. Eventually. So the bottom, I figured it at the bottom of her skirt will be, it'll be more than 3 inches because I have plenty of play. So, but I want some of the leaves to show. Not necessarily the tree branches, but I definitely want these lamps to show. So, and then with this piece, yeah, I'm not sure what to put on there, but I'll handle that when it's time. So she's kitted now. And when I went to Stitchville, I also picked up her silks. She's 3 silks. Does she have any? I don't think she has any metallics. She does have beads, but she doesn't have any metallics. So she will live on this piece at some point. But she's definitely a bigger lady. Getting a fat quarter landscape 32 count would not work for her. You have to go to the Garand Stitchery website if you wish to order this. It's called Eerie, E-E-R-I-E, Night, N-I-G-H-T. And if it's not on their website, for Blackbird you need to have fat half. And they were gracious to talk with whoever put this together for them, and they were able to put it on a fat half. But just contact them and say you're interested in it. I also thought that that fabric would look good. Let's see, At the Met would look good on it. See, At the Met. Maybe Raven Queen if you positioned her so like the lamp was sitting on her hand. I already have that one started on a different piece of fabric. Oh, there were like 4 or 5 that I mentioned to Gary when I contacted him about the fabric, but they were able to get it in fat half. So I ordered it. And when I ordered it, you know, nothing can travel by itself. It'll get lost. I have this piece, Really Friends by Heartstring. This calls for some Forbidden Fiber Co. fibers. These here. I think there's like 3 of them. So I didn't have those in my collection. I had most of the other colors, or I'm subbing out over dyes. So I ordered those at the same time from Garan. And then Stitchville, I picked up Blackbird. I picked up silks for Blackbird. I picked up this Happy Morning. I also picked up silks for my grandmother's memorial piece. And I picked up this guy. I picked up some of the DMCs. I don't have a lot of the DMCs from DMC 1 to 35, so I often pick those up because I haven't built up my collection yet on those particular shades. And I might have a chance to go to Stitchville tomorrow. We'll see, time-wise. I'm not sure. And if I do, then I'll pick up February Amethyst Fairy for my middle daughter. So for my oldest daughter, I'm stitching, or I have to restart Cassiopeia. I just put it on too dark of a fabric. It's beautiful fabric, but it's just too dark for that piece. So I could reuse that piece of fabric for something else. For my middle daughter, February Amethyst Fairy. And the thing with the July Amethyst thing is my middle daughter's is February and my youngest daughter's July. So it was like, I'm not going to stitch that twice. So it's always kind of been a quandary in my mind, but I'm stitching Rose Celebration for my youngest daughter. I don't have much on it yet, but I do want to start knocking those out. And again, I always work on my oldest whip. So that is my oldest whip now. So for March, I'll be doing the Fancy Lady. Both numbers are Fancy Lady, so that's my main piece. Although if I need a break, I'll jump in and do another couple of Polar Plunge ornaments just to keep on track to get those done. Also for the Garan Stitchery Designer Focus for March is JBW Designs, and I am going to start Eliza's Birds. I have that all kitted up by JBW Designs. If you want to do something like that where you want to try a different designer, I encourage you to look at your magazines, particularly the Christmas ornament or Halloween ornament issues. JBW, I know for certain, and La Di Da, which is another Designer Focus 2024, and just another button company. They often have little pieces in those ornament issues. I don't do Halloween, so I don't have the Halloween ones, but I do have the Christmas ones. And I did find some for those particular pieces, but I'm going to do Eliza's Birds by JBW. That's all kitted, ready to go. Sometime in March I'll start it. Not sure exactly when. And then in May, see, that is Stacy Nash. I just finished a piece by Stacy Nash. I don't think I have any more of hers, so I'm going to have to look for a May piece, but I'm also going to do that memorial piece for my grandma. Start that on her birthday in May. So that is the overall big plans that I have. I was doing so good for market. And then Teresa Kogut. I'm going to blame it on Teresa. Oh my word, she knocked it out of the park. Just out of the park. So I ordered And God Knew, Serenity, Wherever Birds Are. The Spring book. I think it's Hello Spring by Teresa Kogut. I think I also, the Voices one by Teresa Kogut. Also, Annie B's, her 12 Days at Christmas, her Mini Mansions. I know there was one other one. I ordered some from Garan, some from Stitchville, not the same patterns. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, Plum Street comes out with hers. Summer House Stitchworks comes out with hers. Oh, man, I thought I was doing good. And then the designers show their wares. But it is what it is. It's nice to see the industry kind of revive and grow, and yeah, that's good. That's very good to see. So I am going to let you go, and hopefully I'll be back sooner than later. I had the pleasure of taking my 19-year-old son to the ER last night because he came out of his room. He's holding his finger like that. Yeah, that was fun. He didn't need stitches, but he did get a tetanus update. And he works at a butcher shop. So it's probably a good thing to get his tetanus updated. Beyond that, just same old, same old. Keep working, keep getting the bathrooms done and updated, and then painting. And I like painting rooms. It doesn't bother me. It's just, it does take some time, but that it's worth it. So I'm gonna start stitching on Feather Fairy and clean up here, and I'll let you all go. And if I forget to put something in the description box below, just casually remind me. I'm also on Instagram, mondotstitches, one word. And I'll talk to y'all when I talk to you. Love to y'all. Bye.